A lot of people are hoping to hop into the rental space when it comes to making money, in particular with Airbnb. But many people are hopping in there without any previous real estate knowledge, interior designing, or really just knowledge on how to be successful in this business. They just see someone making a buttload of money online and then they want to hop in there and cut them a nice slice of their market share. Well, that in itself, there's nothing wrong with it. If you don't take precaution, you're going to make a number of mistakes that end up costing you money or costing you time, or sadly maybe even costing you a combination of both. That's why in this video I'm going to be sharing with you 10 mistakes that new Airbnb hosts tend to make. And when I say Airbnb, I'm just using that as a conduit for short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, and long-term rentals in general. So the same really applies for if you're on VRBO, Booking.com, or even taking direct bookings. So with that being said, let's hop into the content of the video. I started making videos on this channel about being an Airbnb host so that people can learn from my experiences and learn from my mistakes. And since mistakes is what we're talking about in this video, let's hop into it with the first mistake that a lot of people make is no negotiation when they go out to get a property that they want to use for Airbnb. Now this is gonna more or less apply to those doing rental arbitrage. If you don't know what that is, you want to check this video out where I talk about 10 steps on how to get that started. But long story short, rental arbitrage is a method of subleasing where you go rent a place, pay the rent, pay the utilities, and then you rent that place that you're renting out to someone else in the form of short-term or mid-term rentals, or if you wanted to, even long-term in some cases. With that being the case, a lot of people are so hungry to just enter the space that they'll just jump at whatever opportunity is given to them, even if it might not be a fair opportunity. And there may be another opportunity for you to save more money. I'll give you a good example of this. I currently have 2 properties, and on the second one I was able to negotiate $100 off of the monthly rent for a full year. Compare that scenario to another scenario where Airbnb host gets offered something that might just be unfair, like, hey, this costs $1,500 for the market rate, but I'm going to charge you extra $500 since you're going to be putting it on Airbnb, and then you jump at that because you think that, hey, I just got to get in the game. Don't do that. I'm not going to go into the negotiation tactics because that could be a separate video in itself. If y'all want to see that, let me know in the comments, but look up some tactics on negotiation and also look up leverage points that you can use as an Airbnb host. Remember, these people who you're renting from, they want that steady paycheck, and dealing with tenants is a bigger headache than you might think. So you may come in and be the solution that they need, because as an Airbnb host, you're more invested in that property. So you're not just gonna up and leave one year, and you're not gonna just completely trash the place. You have an invested interest in making sure things run smoothly. That sounds very appealing to someone who is a real estate investor and they're looking to rent the place out. That's just one negotiation point, but be sure to look into this. Don't just take what's given to you unless what happens to be given to you is a very fair deal. The second mistake the new Airbnb hosts make is they don't have any records. By records, I mean you need to be keeping accurate records of what is your gross income, what are you spending in terms of monthly expenses, and what is your overall budget that you spend for each unit or house that you pick up. And it's not enough to have a mental picture of this. You really should have this outlined in an Excel sheet or a Google spreadsheet. And you need to see exactly what are your net earnings per property as well as your combined net earnings. The way this can be managed is for every property, that's a new spreadsheet. So property 1 has its own spreadsheet, property 2 has its own spreadsheet, and you need to have a spreadsheet that has all your properties on it and net earnings. This way you can track the performance of each property, see which one is the most profitable, which one is the least profitable. Then you can start to determine exactly why that is. Why is this unit working so well? Why is this unit pulling in less money? You can analyze the factors to see exactly why, and maybe duplicate more of what's working and do a few things different to increase the profits on the lower property ones. This is necessary if you want to get the full picture of what's going on in your Airbnb business. Most people don't think of it this way. They just hop in the game with no kind of idea how they're going to keep records, and they end up wasting a lot of money that they don't even realize they're doing, and they don't really even know that this property may not be doing so well, but this property is so profitable, they're kind of balancing out, when there's probably some things you can do to this one to really amp it up so you can be making more money. So you want to have a note of keeping those records. And in case you're wondering, Airbnb is not going to do this for you. They're just going to provide you with your gross earnings. The third mistake that a lot of people make is I like to call just having a basic place. Now, back in the day, from what I've heard, you could actually just put a property on Airbnb and just have some furniture there at random, and it would get booked like crazy because the concept was still new. Well, we're in 2022, going on 2023, and that's just sadly not the case. You got to have some basic knowledge of interior design if you want to hop in this space and be successful. Now keep in mind, this is something that can be outsourced. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. You can hire an interior designer to do this for you. And the good thing about having an interior designer is this is something that really just needs to be done once per property. Once it's set, then you're pretty much good to go. But if you want to do it yourself, be sure to take some interior designing courses or do some research on it. There's actually a pretty decent one on Skillshare that I recommend. There's a link that I will leave in the description for y'all. But regardless, just make sure you have that skill set in your inventory, whether you're gonna outsource it or do it yourself. Fourth mistake that a lot of people make is cleaning their properties themselves if they don't have any prior experience. Now, there's nothing wrong in concept with cleaning yourself. You might want to save on expenses, or there's a variety of reasons why you might want to do it yourself. But if you don't have experience cleaning properties, do some research on how you clean residential properties. Now, this is important because there's just going to be things that you may not think of if you haven't done it in a commercial sense. You want to check this video out when I go into details on like 8 tips on increasing the turnover time and also just being a better cleaner, because I have experience in the janitorial industry. I was a janitor when I was in high school, and even when I used to work for Amazon as an adult, my aunt still had her janitorial business, and from time to time I would get contracts from her in terms of cleaning in her business. So I had experience cleaning. It was nothing new for me. If you don't have any type of experience cleaning professionally, I recommend you treat it like any other subject and do some research. Just don't think, oh, well, I clean my house, so I'm all of a sudden equipped to clean professionally. Don't skip the steps, still do the research. The fifth mistake that a lot of people make is no launch plan. So they just get the property and then they throw it on the Airbnb and then just hope for the best. You do that and you're going to be at the mercy of the Airbnb algorithm. Now, the good news is the algorithm will give you a boost since you're a new property for about a month. But with that being said, why rely just on the algorithm? You need to have some kind of launch plan. What's going to be the price point that you're going to enter the market in to ensure that you start getting bookings and get reviews, which in turn will create a snowball effect where you'll keep getting bookings, etc. Are you going to share it on social media? How are you going to get the word out that you're an Airbnb host now and let people know about it? Have a launch plan. Don't just throw it out there and hope for the best, because you might be missing out on potential money if you just have a launch plan, and this launch plan can be duplicated each time you get a new property. This is a natural progression into the next mistake number 6 that new hosts make, and that's charging too little. Now, when you first get started, you want to enter the market, so you're not going to want to overcharge, but you definitely don't want to undercharge either, because one thing is you'll shoot yourself in the foot, and the second thing is you're making it worse for all Airbnb hosts every time you charge like way below the market, because you're training guests to look for these low prices when they shouldn't be. And the third one is you run the risk of getting a bad guest that isn't going to treat your property with the certain amount of respect that it deserves. I think that's the biggest con in my opinion. So just do some research on this. This can be done by surfing the Airbnb app or website as a customer and look at the decent properties and how much they're charging. And once you see how much they're charging, you can probably do the math to see how much they might be netting. And from there, maybe you enter the market at 10% less. You start getting bookings, and once you get like maybe around 5 reviews, you will increase your rate to around the market price. But one thing you don't want to do, if you're doing rental arbitrage, don't just charge like how much your expenses are and say, oh, I'm just going to build up my reviews by charging how much my expenses are. So it's here for $50 a night, and once I start getting some steam, then I'll raise prices. You run the risk of someone coming in and trashing your place, and then you're gonna have to worry about repairs and stuff. Bad guests come when the prices are too low, so don't do that. Just do a little research on this, all right? And speaking of what type of guest is going to be in your property, mistake number 7, not having a clear defined customer avatar. So a customer avatar is basically what type of person or people do you want inside your property. How do they think? What are they going to be coming in town for? What are they going to be doing while they're in town? How long will they be staying? These questions form a customer avatar, and this will help to inform your decisions when it comes to certain things involving Airbnb or VRBO or whatever. I'll give you an example. My ideal customer that I want in my properties is that person who's coming into town for a business conference or something to do with business, and they're going to need a place to stay, a studio apartment, for at least 4 days to a few weeks. That's my ideal customer avatar. Now, that doesn't mean I'm gonna not accept anything from anyone else, but my whole theme surrounded around my units are based around that avatar. For instance, I have a work desk with a lamp set up right on top of it and a place where they can plug in their PC or Mac. That's very friendly to someone who's going to be coming in for business and will be using the computer. It also attracts remote workers if you're into that kind of thing. There's a little overlap in my case with that because I don't mind having remote workers. I know some people have issues with them because they're going to be there 24/7. That means increasing utilities, which I don't blame you, but they're part of my customer avatar. But you see, I just put an amenity there specifically to serve a type of customer. You have to know what type of customer you're serving. Are these leisure travelers on vacation? Are they closer to what I said? Are you trying to attract travel nurses? Who do you want in your property? From there, you can kind of center the amenities around that so that you can be mainly attracting that type of person to stay in your property. Now, you might be noticing a theme that each mistake kind of branches off into the next one. We're going to continue that theme with the 8th mistake, and I call this mistake not using price manipulation. So you can kind of deter guests that you don't want in there, and you can encourage guests that you want in there to book subtly by using pricing. I didn't mention this in the customer avatar, but it also helps to know exactly who you don't want in there. Like an example in your head of like, hey, I don't want this person in there, because that's a bonus. It's not mandatory, but it is a bonus. But it will help you with this section, because I in particular don't want people staying for one night just having thrills so they can do the indoor Olympics or something, or they can just throw a quick party in there and trash the place. Like, there's a huge risk of stuff like that happening if you allow one night stays, which technically I don't disallow them because they can book a one night stay. I just have the price insanely high. If you want to book a one night stay in one of my units, it's going to be at least $200. That's not included in the cleaning fee. That's set up on purpose because I want you to see that price to click off immediately, because ultimately I don't want someone staying there for one day. On the flip side, I actually like people who stay weekly. So I have discounts set for someone stays weekly. If someone stays for like 5 days, if someone stays like bi-weekly, they're rewarded for staying that long. So that's very attractive to the type of person I want in there. See how it circles back to my customer avatar? But I'm using price manipulation to do that. So instead of just saying like, hey, this is a 3-night minimum, if you do that, you're not going to get as much search traffic as you need. I just say, hey, my discounts start at a 4-night. This is where you start getting this discount, 5-night discount, etc. And you're more than welcome. Maybe not welcome, but you can book 1 night, 2 night, 3 night, but you're going to pay. So that deters the guests that I don't want to stay there, and it attracts the guests that I want to stay there. So start thinking about it like I just thought, and set up your prices and discount with that in mind. The 9th mistake that new hosts make is, and this one baffles me, is they don't have any experience as a customer. Now, this isn't as common as, let's say, Uber or Lyft or Uber Eats or something, where people just hop in and become a driver, but they haven't tried the service, which is ridiculous in my opinion. More people actually have done Airbnb as a customer before they become a host in this industry. But with that being said, there's still some people that haven't. You need to experience this from a customer's perspective so you can see it through their eyes. If you haven't done so, then there's just going to be certain things that you're not going to think to do because you haven't seen it from their perspective. Oftentimes, there are little things that you could do that you would appreciate it as a customer, and then you can start doing them as a host, and this will lead to 5-star reviews and return customers. A great example for myself is I stayed in this Airbnb once. I noticed that they actually didn't even have YouTube on their TV. And I was like, how could you not have YouTube downloaded on your TV? And you can't download it for them because they have their PIN number in the TV, which is good. You don't want people purchasing stuff using the TV. But I just found it weird. How could they not have YouTube on there? So when I started becoming the Airbnb host, guess what I had on my TV? I had YouTube. Not only did I have YouTube on there, I actually have YouTube Premium, so people can watch YouTube without ads. And I can tell you, I look at the history of the channel that I set up so that they can use, and they be looking at YouTube without ads. They take advantage of it. Now, of course, that is a plugin because a lot of them see this friendly face of their host and they start looking at these videos. So it's a little bit of a setup and plug in there. But the point is, all that was inspired because I was an Airbnb customer and I saw I was lacking in the place that I stayed. But the moral of that story is to try Airbnb out as a customer. The 10th and final mistake that people make as an Airbnb host is they don't have an expansion plan. They just hop in this industry just kind of out of FOMO, fear of missing out. But they don't actually have a plan on how to expand, if they want to expand. And they just kind of wing it. They kind of go with the flow. And then one day they just think they want another one and just kind of, okay, well, I'm just going to go and get another one. Have an expansion plan. So from the moment that I decided I wanted to enter this space, I had an expansion plan on like how I'm going to duplicate the process I did with the first unit and make it faster and better. I also have a plan where once I reach a certain amount of units, I'm going to be cool with that particular strategy, and it's all about maintaining. So my strategy is to do the rental arbitrage game, get around 8 to 10 properties, then use that cash flow, save it up, and get a house in cash, or get a big house and be able to negotiate a little with the down payment. I think that's mandatory in this market because if you just go in there with your standard 20% in terms of buying a house, you're going to get eaten alive with these interest rates, and it is not friendly for buyers right now. So the only way you're going to have any real leverage is if you can buy something cash or have a big down payment. So with that being the case, I'm preparing for that scenario. But I have a clear plan on how to make that happen. And believe it or not, I also have an exit plan too. You need to be thinking about all of this when you decide to enter this industry. Don't just wing it. Have a plan on where you want to start, where you want to end up, and where you want to go once you reach your ultimate goal. Not having a plan means that you're not going to be looking for the best method to get there. And when it comes to expansion, you're not going to be looking at the ideal scenarios that can help with your plan because you don't have one. If you plan on being in this space for like years, maybe you should be looking to negotiate leases to around like 3 or 4 years. That way you can lock in a lease at a particular price so they can't just raise the price on you. See, that goes with having a plan. But you might be the type of person that you're afraid of regulations come into your market, so you want to do year-long leases. So if a regulation comes you don't like, well shoot, you can just let the lease expire, sell the furniture, and then you're out of the market. That's the plan too. It just depends on what you want. But you won't know unless you sit down and map it out. And with that being said, those are 10 mistakes I see new Airbnb hosts making. If you focus on rectifying these mistakes, trust me, it'll be a smoother experience. You'll make more money and you'll be able to save a lot of time too. That does it for this video. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And if you're thinking about becoming the Airbnb host and you haven't done so yet, you can sign up using the link in the description below. And you can also check out my other videos that I've done about being an Airbnb host. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new and hit that bell notification if you want to be notified next time I drop another video. And if you found value in this one, a thumbs up is very much appreciated. I'll catch you next time. Don't forget to get out there and take control of your financial destiny.